Alrighty, friends, we're back for your favorite podcast show of the week. It's Location Weekly. This is episode number 656, which we are recording on February the 5th. Yes, it is already February. What are we, only like 3 weeks until spring training baseball starts, Brianna? Something like that?
Yeah, pitchers report soon. It's crazy,
Yeah,
right? Super Bowl's
it's
coming up.
crazy. Yeah, Super Bowl this coming weekend. Lots going on. And yeah, busy times. So we just had the NHL All-Star game and All-Star weekend here in Toronto over this past weekend, which I was at, which was amazing.
Nice.
So that was a lot of fun because it hasn't been here since 2000 and like 2000 actually. I think it was when it was here last. So it's been a long time. Anyhow, we have a good show for you this week. We actually only have three stories because we have a guest interview that we're going to share with you as well. But yeah, we'll just jump right into it, I guess, with Aubriana kicking us off.
All right. Well, let's start off with a big one. Google is jumping into AI in many areas. We've been hearing tons about this. People are saying that a lot of the layoffs or sizing down of their task force is because of some of the AI initiatives. Who knows if that's true or not? But the focus today's story is that they have now incorporated generative AI into their mapping application. So this is being tested out right now. It's kind of early access, so closed beta, think to some specific areas. And it's, kind of an interesting application of generative AI where people who are using the Maps app could actually interact using natural language, right? So this is like intuitive, how do I discover new areas where I am? And I was just thinking about as I read through kind of the breakdown of how it works, like, there's a lot of things that you potentially would want to ask the map rather than have to type it all in. For example, find me a Mexican style vegan restaurant, like, something that's very specific, or finding like thrift stores nearby that specialize in houseware, something like that. So apparently it's taking voice commands and just making it really easier to explore some unfamiliar places for people while they're traveling or even in their hometown. So right now they're saying that this will process information to over 250 million places, and it's supplemented by insights that are contributed by community members, right? So people who live in that area that are participating in Google's local guides program. So, it's curating this list of like recommendations and aligning it with the user's needs. Pretty straightforward. I think that this is a good application of generative AI. Like we just want to have a conversation, right? How can you help me find this? And I want to be as specific as possible. And I think that so often I find myself actually using voice, like talk to text. And so kind of being able to actually interact versus it just being a one way or one direction type of a feed, I think is really valuable because we're just looking for quick, refined information. And if we can do that with natural language, I think that's awesome. So I like this enhancement. I like the interactive aspects of this. There were several examples in the I think it was Times Now News, a site where I read some of this information. So if you want to dive in deeper, you can reference that there. But yeah, I don't think this is like groundbreaking, but they're also integrating this and continuing to invest in this with the Bard chatbot and then also the tools into the Pixel phones. So think about this like going beyond just the Maps app itself, but really expanding. So any thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, I don't think it's anything unexpected or any rocket science here. I think this is a very, useful and solid expression of generative AI. I mean, it's a no-brainer for me that Google should be doing this with maps. Obviously, they're the kings of search. And there's no reason that, when we're looking for things on a map, that it shouldn't, operate, in an easy, efficient way using voice, that, we're getting more and more comfortable with every day. I mean, I can tell you, yeah, I've talked about this before. I've got, Google Maps and Apple Maps built into my car, in my Volvo that I drive around. I'm always punching in, but usually I'm keying it in, on the the touchscreen keyboard, what I'm looking for, or I'm speaking it. Um, but being able to have these nuances of combining things, like saying, as the examples you gave, like, a vegan, Mexican pizza place or whatever, these combinations of things, I think, make it a little more interesting or a little more specific, where we can be much more conversational in how we express what we're looking for. So I really like it. I think it makes sense. I love the sort of the breadth of it, in terms of, they're pulling from 300 million local guides, to kind of feed this machine, if you will, with the information. Maybe we should reach out to our good mutual friend, Tim Garcia, who works in this group, and see if he can come in and give us a little more insight on where this is going next. I understand this is just limited rollout in the US, to select local guide areas. So maybe that's New York. I don't know. Maybe you should get early access to this, Aubriana,
I think I should.
and let us know. But let's I'll reach out to Tim this week. Maybe we can get him to come on and talk about this in a little more detail. But I really like it. I think it makes a ton of sense, for them, and I think it's useful for all of us. So there you go.
Yeah.
Okay, jumping over now to the UK. There is a company that we've done some work with over the years, part of the LBMA organization, called Location Sciences Group. And there's an announcement this week, that and they're based in Cheltenham, part of London. And then there's another kind of location data company called Sorted Holdings, which is based in Manchester. And these two are coming together in a reverse takeover. So Location Sciences Group is essentially, and Sorted Holdings are becoming one company. There's a lot of very senior people in our industry involved in between these two companies. You have the Boohoo co-founders of Mahmoud Kamani, and former Zeus boss Richard Hughes, at the leadership of this. So, a lot of expertise in the space. Both companies have raised a significant amount of money over the years. And, I think part of this is kind of bringing the data side of what Location Sciences has really excelled at, in my opinion, together with Sorted Holdings, which has built a very nice SaaS business model, in the e-commerce sector, and has some kind of predictable, scalable revenue. And so I think the combination of, the data expertise, and the SaaS model is really what makes this attractive. They say that, they're kind of maintaining the staff here. Location Sciences Group is going to raise an additional £2 million in equity, to provide working capital for growth, once the deal goes through here, and they intend to change the sort of merged company name to Sorted Group Holdings. So not a lot more to say about this, but I think it just speaks to, you have two companies that have matured in a market in the UK, and doing somewhat complementary things here, coming together. And I think, I've talked a lot on this show last year in particular about sort of just the maturity of our industry, and more consolidation expected. So this is a good example of that.
Yeah, I think this is definitely a good example of that. And I'm very interested to see how they leverage their two services and solution offerings together. I think obviously they've got some good ideas and something up their sleeve, and how they're going to combine more of that e-commerce type of a SaaS, predictable revenue side of things, with the location verification, fraud prevention side of things, that traditionally has come from Location Sciences. So I don't know, I'm like kind of eager to dive in and understand a little better how they're thinking about blending their offerings, and what that is going to help them do. and what kind of the key problems are they think they're going to solve better or more efficiently together. So excited to keep watching that one.
There you go. Okay. So we're going to kind of pause there before we come to our final story for this week because we have a guest interview. And I had the opportunity to sit down with Ege Akpinar, who's the one of the founders and the CEO of Pointer Labs, that is. And they are, a big player in the indoor navigation and indoor mapping space, have some very unique technology in that space, and some very sophisticated mapping technology as well. And so, just had a chance to catch up and learn from him kind of where what they're doing and where we see the industry going from Pointer's perspective. So here's that interview now, and we'll be back after that with our final story. All right, it's my great pleasure this week to have on our show a special guest, Ege Akpinar. He's the CEO of an LBMA member company called Pointer. Ege, welcome to Location Weekly.
Thank you for having me. I'm very pleased to be here.
Yeah, it's great to have you. I know you guys, have been a part of the LBMA now for a little bit, and maybe just for our members and viewers who don't know who Pointer is, tell us a little bit about the company, where you're based, and what you're all about.
It's a great question. Pointer is a technology platform for effectively indoor location maps and analytics for retail, but also other verticals. So any building, small or large, we try to digitize them with our platform. Our North American headquarters is based in Boston, Mass, and then elsewhere for the rest of the world, we are based in London, in the UK. So that's in a very quick introduction, that's what where the company is and what we do.
Yeah, and there's a fairly good heritage to the company, right? You guys have been around for a while. What makes, obviously, we as an LBMA, we work with a lot of indoor, mapping and navigation companies, have for since the beginning in 2009. But what makes your platform different in the market, and how you approach things and some of the technology and patents that you have?
That's a great question. I think it would help to explain how we got started. So we got started in indoor location from some of our existing partners from a previous background, where they said they just tried different solutions and it wouldn't work. And the engineer in me said, hang on, we can solve this. And that's how we got started. Little did we know how complicated the journey could have been. But I'm very pleased to say, after many years of R&D and around 25 patents, we really believe we cracked indoor location at scale. That was the first chapter of the business for us, where we can now deploy indoor location remotely anywhere, and it works out of the box. And you don't need to recalibrate it. So for anyone, I'm sure you have lots of knowledgeable listeners in your audience. They'll know indoor location isn't as easy as it sounds. It does have its challenges, and we've been fixing a challenge after challenge. But today we have a mature platform that, using a lot of machine learning, a lot of smart kind of design decisions, we are able to provide a blue dot experience at scale. And when I say in scale, I mean thousands of buildings in basically minutes. That's kind of our indoor location side of things. Now, as we're making great progress there, some of our existing retail partners actually said, and this was originally Macy's, who said, we love your indoor location. This might be, or they said, we really like your indoor location. And they said, but our maps are so out of date that even if you have the best location service, the maps, unless they're up to date, it's not going to add the full value. And as you know, the users expect the full experience. The location should be accurate, the map should be up to date. And again, going back to that, the engineering curiosity again, we said, hang on, we should be able to solve this problem too. And pretty much every map you've seen out there, it's a crowded space. There are many mapping companies. Every map you've seen out there are pretty much built manually. There's a human behind it, taking some kind of a drawing, cleaning it up, and then shipping it to their customer. Now, the challenge with that is, if you're doing one building, yeah, that works. If you're doing hundreds, it's a different story. It's a different ball game completely. And from Macy's specifically, we found out their goal was literally to go from we're updating our maps once every 2 years to can we update them once a year? If you've ever been to a retail store, which I'm pretty sure you have, and most of your listeners will have had, they change a lot. So even if you update them, say 6 months later, by the time you've done your mapping work, guess what? It's already out of date. So you're kind of chasing your own tail. And so we said, okay, how can we apply? And again, I'm a computer science by background. We said, how can we apply computer science? And this was actually an idea from our team. Said, can we apply computer science to this? And that's how we got, involved in the mapping space. 5 years and a lot of R&D later, I'm very pleased to say we produced the world's first AI-built maps. So today our maps are built completely AI-based, and that allows you to go from, days and weeks of mapping to actually in seconds we can produce maps. You submit a floor plan and through an API, it automatically generates them for you. That's how we're able to actually last year deploy the world's largest indoor mapping deployment. That's 350 million square feet. And we're currently in discussions with 1 billion square feet, a large partner, another 150 million square feet, another partner. That's the kind of scale we like. So in a long-winded way, our really claim to fame is indoor location at scale and AI-based indoor maps.
Yeah, and I think that's
combined with them, you get scalable digital buildings at scale, basically.
Yeah, and that's great. And I think the mapping piece in particular, is very appealing to a lot of big, mass, multi-location retailers, because it's a huge problem, right? And the footprint is changing all the time. The layout is changing all the time. And staying current on that, I think is an ongoing challenge. So being able to do that with AI and be able to do that, in a matter of minutes, I think is a huge benefit to a lot of these. So can you speak specifically to maybe, an example of a retailer that you've worked with and how that relationship has gone?
Certainly. Before I do that, let me just quickly show you a quick demo so that I think for your listeners, am I able to share my screen as if in this recording?
Yeah.
Let me show you just one example of how it actually. So if I share my screen, we call this platform MapScale, this tool. So this is just a random example I found now, but effectively you get the original CAD file. Our engine is able to automatically detect and turn this into a kind of simplified format, and then turn this into 3D with even extracting the metadata from the actual original CAD file. This is an office example. The same applies to, again, retail, the same applies to hospitals, the same applies to any other vertical. And this is effectively replicating what a human does, but all purely using software.
Awesome.
This is the speed at which we can digitize buildings. And that is what we believe is changing the game for indoor mapping out there. Come back to your question about the customer we helped. I think a good example would be Harrods. That's a 1 million square feet department store with a ton of changes happening every night. And more recent example would be Home Depot. If you've ever been to a Home Depot store, which I hope most of us have been to, it can be also a confusing experience with a large store and with lots of small items you're looking for. Through our platform, their maps get automatically digitized on a basically weekly basis. And if they wanted, we could do it on a daily basis even. But weekly is more than good enough for them. The idea is how do you then keep it always up to date? And through an API integration, without anyone touching the maps just get automatically spit out, processed through the AI engine, get spit out back to the SDK. And then if you use the Home Depot app, pick any store you want in the US, and you'll see the 3D maps come alive. And that's all powered by our platform. And on top, you can search for products. So I can search for that, the barbecue you're looking for that weekend, you can actually see it in your nearby store, all through our kind of, all leveraged by our platform. It's a partnership with them. So of course they build the app, they build some of the product search capabilities, but it's leveraging our platform to make those things happen.
Yeah, and I mean, we've all had those challenges as consumers, right? Going into a store like Home Depot, you're looking for one specific thing. There's not always an associate around to lead you to that. And, having the app, having accurate maps, being able to punch in tied to inventory and get directed right to where that, product is available, I think is all about efficiency and saving the customer time and making it, easier on the store and saving, resources on that side as well. So I think that's great. Okay, we just have like a minute left here, but looking into your crystal ball, in the space of indoor navigation and mapping, what's coming next? Where's our industry going?
Let me find my crystal ball. I think what's coming next is we've had a lot of retailers have been trying to do this, effectively replicate the website experience in their stores. Because on website, it's super efficient. It's a very easy experience for the customer. I search exactly what I need, find it right away. Again, we've all done that, so I don't need to bore you with the details. Stores are not going away, but they need to get smarter. But not having the maps up to date, or not having location service, or not having the app working, etc., all of these friction points effectively are slowing it down. We believe we cracked the maps and location. What's coming next for us is the data. We recently launched our analytics dashboard. It's an API-driven dashboard where you're talking about, what if I can tell you, shoppers come to your store, search for X, but leave the store after 30 seconds. On website, people, folks can currently measure that data today. They know what they're missing. In store, they have no idea. You can look at them through the camera. You're not going to know what's on their mind. But they actually tell you what's on their mind. They're searching for something. They're going to a certain corner of the store. So we're now, bring that alive with some of our retail partners. So that's super exciting for us. And we also have one more announcement that will be, announcing in a month or two, which we're very excited about. So that's kind of from a pointer lens, from a general landscape view of retail. Again, it's really that omni-channel experience, replicating the website experience in the store. And through hopefully platforms like ours, we're going to make that happen. And it's already started. So, next time you're at the Home Depot store, it actually knows you so much better than it used to maybe 2 years back. So it's starting, and then I think it will get more and more interesting. And the last but not least piece is also the additional piece about the associates, with RFID being kind of commonplace. Then you're now saying, okay, can I get real-time product inventory? We've all been to maybe a Best Buy and say, I'm looking for a product, but it's not on the shelf. How can we solve that problem for the associate and the back office? Those are some of the problems and challenges that really excite us, and we believe we can help solve those challenges.
Love it. I think the data analytics piece in particular, I'm excited about. It's a field I've been working in, obviously, as well. But we definitely see the opportunities there, and I think tying the back office pieces to this makes a lot of sense as well. And there's a lot of people trying to play in that space, but we really appreciate your time, today, and coming and sharing your insights on Location Weekly. Thank you so much for that. I know you alluded to another announcement coming in a few months' time. Maybe we'll hear about that at Retail Loco, at Mall of America, or something along those lines. But again, thank you so much, and we'll look forward to hearing from you soon. Take care.
Thank you for having me. Really pleasure to be on the call. And again, great to see that this has been going for such a long time. It's honestly brings me back for so many good memories. So I appreciate you having me on here, and yeah, looking forward to our next meeting.
All right. Bye-bye.
Take care.
All right. Thanks, Ege. Really appreciate that once again. And we look forward to catching up with you at Retail Loco or wherever we see you next at one of our events. But appreciate the insights on where you see the industry going. Okay, our final story for this week now, we're going to talk a little bit about autonomous retail stores and robotics a little bit here. And so we're here to talk about RoboMart. Now, we've covered these guys, I think, once before. This may be going back 2 years now on the show, but they've announced a new partnership with a company called PIX Moving, PIX, that is how you spell that. So if you don't know RoboMart, they're a US-based robotics company that has created self-driving smart shops. So these are essentially like trailer retail stores on wheels that are self-driving. And they've signed this partnership with PIX Moving. And so essentially, the initial partnership here is focused on a deployment of stores in California. They're focusing initially on unmanned ice cream parlors, cafes, and quick serve restaurants. So, things that, we're all used to. It's funny, the timing of this story, because when I was at NRF just a few weeks ago, We were there and with our good friend Karsten and in a booth in the food service innovation area, and there was a lot of robotics. There was a lot of, robots making pizza and robots making burgers and all kinds of things like this. So I think the sort of momentum, if you will, around these sort of robotic food preparation and self-driving vehicles coming together, the timing is really interesting. RoboMart already has many customers in this space. They have partnerships with Ben and Jerry's, with Mars, with Fatty Mart, and other companies. So they have about 100 of these plus, stores out there already. And so, this partnership with PIX Moving is just about expanding that further and getting more and more of these self-driving autonomous retail stores out in the marketplace. And I like this because I think it's different than when we talk about things like, Amazon self-checkout technology, right? Typically those are, in a stadium or in an office environment, where it's kind of built into that environment. Whereas these things that we're talking about are on the go, right? And I think when we first talked about them, like there was even, I don't know, actually, I don't even remember if it's RoboMart or there was another company we were covering at the time, that was based in China, and they had like a mobile app that consumers could basically like call the store to come to them. And so I think, we're going to see more and more of these, as it at the end of the day, it's about reducing operational costs for the retail side of things, but also being, more convenient for the end consumer. So I love these kinds of partnerships. And I love that, we're seeing more and more of this, come into, our communities and our environment. I think it makes sense especially in certain markets where maybe they're underserved, maybe it doesn't make sense to build a 7-Eleven or to have a, KFC there. But if you can bring one there, when it's needed or the demand, drives it there, or maybe there's, a big sporting event happening or something that, brings way more people to an area that aren't, than are normally there, and, having a retail store or a pop-up, food vending thing, roll in, to serve that community makes sense. So I see lots of opportunities for these kinds of things. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I certainly see a lot of opportunity here. It makes me think about like what's old is new again, for sure. One of the things I love about moving here to New York is that, we have the local ice cream truck that comes by, and not so much right now, but I would say like, 3 seasons out of the year, it's running. And especially in the summer, we take advantage of that. And I can call, the truck guy, and it's the same person typically all the time, be like, hey, I got 6 kids over here on this street. I don't personally have 6 kids, but whatever, summer fun days. So like and I think that this is really like just taking that a step further. So I love the simplicity of it in some, way, shape, or form. And I think there's a lot of ways to expand it beyond like the ice cream and some of just the quick goods that you might need around like self-care items, medicine, or things like that. But also thinking about it, what if Whole Foods had a fleet, for example, and they could have like fresh fruit and vegetables that come on a daily basis or every other day to your street. Like those are the things I would love to take advantage of. And it reminds me of when we go to Dominican Republic, for example.